Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a 6-game NBA slate for you. There's not a ton of injuries today, which is nice. There's only 2 questionable tags at this point. It is almost 4 o'clock Eastern, so we should have a pretty good slate here, and we should have most information. The only real injury question that we have today is the Cavaliers, with Garland being questionable. With that situation, obviously if Garland was ruled out, then LeVert would probably get a pretty big boost. But with that said, let's get into the injury report itself. So the Trailblazers, Winslow is out, and Simmons is questionable for the Cavs. Garland is questionable for the Heat. Robinson and Lowry are out for the Nets. Simmons is out for the Timberwolves. Towns and Noel are out, and for the Lakers, LeBron and Bamba are out. So before I get into the players I do like today, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? Really does help the channel. I will have college basketball and stuff tomorrow. Sorry for not having it this morning. I just had things I had to do, doctor's visit and stuff. So with that said, let's get into the slate today. Let me get my team picks here. So I have Atlanta over Washington, Philly over Portland, Miami over Cleveland, Brooklyn over Minnesota, Denver over the Spurs, and Toronto over the Lakers. With that said, if we're looking at the slate, I don't really think it's a great slate. Obviously, it's not bad because there's not too many injuries, but everybody seems overpriced today. So we are going to try to make a balanced lineup from top to bottom here when it comes to having some expensive guys and then some cheap plays. So my top option today is going to be Nikola Jokic. He's been playing. He's had 2 games in a row that haven't been that great, but he's got a nice plus matchup against the Spurs. He should be able to get a triple-double in this game, which he's been doing all season long, and he'll probably score more points as well. His price is still pretty high, obviously, but it's actually a couple $100 cheaper than it's been at, so that's definitely an advantage. As for Joel Embiid, his minutes are a little bit of concern here because he hasn't been playing quite as many minutes as he normally does. A couple games in the last like 10, but it's a pretty good matchup for him against Portland, and it should be a tighter game and a high-scoring game in that aspect. So I do think he's a really good play as well. Obviously, you probably only want to use one of these 2 guys, and I would definitely lean on Joker a little bit more than Embiid, but they both have pretty decent matchups for themselves, and so I do like both players. Then we're going to look at Bradley Beal, who has been playing really well lately. Since the All-Star break, he's had really good games, and I think he'll continue that here. He's got a good matchup against Atlanta. Should be a pretty high-scoring game as well, and both teams are going to be able to score a lot of points. I'm also going to look at Kyle Kuzma as a pretty good option today. Kyle's been playing pretty good, especially against Atlanta. His floor is pretty much against a team like Atlanta is pretty high in the mid-30s, so he's a pretty good price today. Obviously, I would like him if he was a little bit cheaper, but he is not bad. Then we'll look at Jamal Murray here for Denver. He's got a very good plus matchup against the Spurs. The only real risk here is a blowout, but he's had some really big games lately. He didn't play as good against Chicago, but they got blown out, and he didn't shoot the ball well, but I look for him to bounce back here. He kind of had an odd game that time, so I think he'll get some more assists and steals and stuff in this game, especially against a team that turns the ball over more than most teams do. And then we're going to look at Jaden McDaniels for Minnesota at $4,700. He's had some ups and downs games, but his price is still pretty good, and he does play a pretty good amount of minutes most of the time. As long as they don't get blown out, which they shouldn't in this game. It should be a back-and-forth game. So I expect him to play pretty well in this one. He's had some good games as of late, and he's had a couple floor games as well. But I think he'll have a pretty solid game here. Then we're going to look at John Collins for Atlanta. Now, his price has come way down, but he's still playing pretty well the last couple games. When he came back from injuries and stuff, he hasn't really fully played like himself. But his price is so low that he's actually pretty viable here. We know that he has big-time potential a lot of times, so it's just a matter of him getting back and playing a full complement of minutes. In the last game, he played 29 minutes, and I look for him to play somewhere around 25 to 35 in this game. And so if he does that, then he'll be a great play on the slate. And then Royce O'Neal for Brooklyn, he'll be my last pick today. He has been playing up and down throughout the season, but he's got a pretty good role now where he's playing about 20 to 25 minutes a game, and he probably won't like 10x or anything here, but he should be able to get a 7x type of game where he gets 25 or so points, 25 fantasy points rather. He's been playing pretty well, and while they do have most of their guys back from the last game, he's still playing well enough that he's worth taking a look at. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.